So, hey guys, it's your boy Dark Raku here with What If Issei wants to become the strongest swordsman and the best gunslinger in the entire world, okay? Yes, he's going to have basically Zoro's and what's it called, Zoro's kind of dream, and I don't know why I put the gunslinger, but I just thought of it, fuck it. But not the point. Um, he is going to have other things, but don't worry about that. Now, let me begin into something that I wanted to explain. The other what ifs that I'm continue to do, I am going to continue doing them. It's just when I make what ifs, I usually kind of take some time to do them. Mostly, what's it called? Like, try to well, not finish them. Mostly try to kind of continue the story on if I'm interested or I get bored sometimes. But yeah, I usually get bored most of the time. But not the point. I will continue them on. I kind of just get a little bit bored, and then I want to make a new what if. But yeah, I don't know. My mind kind of goes into different waves half the time. But whatever. So let me begin into this what if. Besides, I can't actually make this what if too long because I have to go to sleep after a while. But yeah, but I did kind of fell asleep like 2 hours ago. But yeah, like I fell asleep when I got home at 6 o'clock, and kind of woke up at like 9. So I kind of slept for 3 hours, something like that. But not the point. Let me begin into this what if. Let me shut the fuck up. And yeah. So, let me begin. Well, let's begin. So, we begin into Issei, mostly kind of going to school. But before going to school, he kind of grabs something from like upstairs, mostly in an attic. Because, well, he mostly kind of remembers something. During the battle between Riser and him, because yes, this is the battle after Riser and him. Mostly after the battle of Riser and him, he realized how the power gap between them are. Now, of course, with his sacred gear, the boosted gear, it was strong enough to overpower, or kind of, what's it called, for a short time, overpower Riser. But it wasn't much at all, because after like a couple of seconds, he got screwed. And luckily for the great strategy of sacrificing his arm, that was basically the best way to defeat Riser Phoenix. But his, well, right arm is no longer his, so he can't do anything about it. But he kind of remember one kind of, well, mostly when he was sleeping, and when, Rias hasn't really still moved in, no, not really, but Azia has, and Azia is kind of going to school early, but yeah. Mostly Issei, he kind of remembers something when he kind of woke up. He remembers something being in the attic, and something that's actually starting to call upon him. Mostly, he was asleep. Well, let me go into his dream. He was dreaming about someone that he missed a lot entirely. Actually, he misses more than anything. He wished that this man was still alive. It's mostly he's talking about his grandfather. His grandfather was an old man with kind of grayish, silverish hair. Well, kind of. It kind of has some green kind of highlights on there, but yeah, because he was still almost as his like kind of like old man age, but he still has some youth inside him, but yeah. But of course, this man was kind of a swordsman. Well, a kind of blacksmith and swordsman kind of user. He still had that style of a swordsman. This is where, well, Issei was always kind of very happy to always see his grandfather. Now, his grandfather is mostly from his, like, father's side. Now, Issei does have brown hair, dark brown hair, and of course, like, golden brown eyes. Now, of course, his grandfather usually had what we call a bluish kind of tint of brown eyes, but they were also the color, bluish brownish kind of tint, but yeah. This is where, well, he also kind of had what we call, like, I should mention, he did have wrinkles and other things because he was old, but yeah, or not wrinkles. I can't speak. But this is where, well, he always kind of take care of Issei a lot. When Issei's parents went to kind of go fuck around because, yeah, that's how Issei's parents were. But Issei was kind of remembering his grandfather, and of course he missed him a lot. During the time when he was sleeping, he was actually crying. Right now, missing his grandfather so much. But during the time he was dreaming and crying, he was actually taken into his mindscape, not by Drake. Drake was asleep. Drake didn't even know this was happening. But this is where something dark and malicious was calling upon him to really just well, use him and activate him in battle. But Issei didn't understand. He felt the intense bloodlust coming from this thing. This unknown figure. He didn't even shape or even appear as anything. It was like nothing itself was actually calling upon him to use him. This is where, well, for some reason, when he woke up, he had the same feeling to go up the attic. So, of course, that's what he did. His parents was downstairs talking to Ozia, but yeah, this is where, well, he kind of went upstairs, mostly into the attic. When he was looking around the attic to look around, he kind of noticed, well, mostly the stand, and a sword being on top of it. Now, the sword was a purple, mostly the sheath itself was a purple kind of sword. And of course, well, the handle and mostly the guard was kind of having like 3 circles in it, kind of being gold a little bit. The handle itself was, well, it was with some flower patterns and other things, and it did have like a golden tint at the very end and the very beginning, mostly of the sheath and even katana itself, mostly the handle. This is where, well, Issei kind of went up to get it. Now, it had a strange, very powerful aura around it, dark and malicious. But Issei didn't mind it. He couldn't barely even feel it, but it had a strange feeling. This is where, well, Issei, when he grabbed it, he felt like he got in kind of stronger for a little bit. But of course, when he was analyzing the katana itself, it was mostly his like grandfather's favorite katana, and always did taught him a lot of stuff about the katana. Well, not many, but he's kind of remembering it. He's getting flashbacks of what his grandfather told him about this katana. Katana's name? Well, he told Issei that the katana one day would tell him about its name, but it's not right for him to tell him at all. Issei didn't understand what that meant, but of course, he didn't really care. This is where, well, his grandfather did talk about other katanas, but yeah, of course, is where he never did tell Issei their names, because yeah. But Issei really didn't mind, and actually, maybe one day learning about the katana's name or whatever. But of course, it was when he was still a child, but yeah. This is where, well, Issei kind of looked at his grandfather most of the time when he was talking. Now, of course, he told Issei that the katana one day would tell him its name. And when you learn about its name, you will get stronger. You have the desire, well, what is your desire, Issei? When, his grandfather asked him when Issei's remembering that memory. This is where, well, he tried to know what he actually wanted the desire to protect. His friends, mostly going to his grandfather back again. This is where Issei, as a child, he said, I don't know. This is where, well, his grandfather chuckled, but this is where he says, are you trying to protect friends, dear ones, parents, or do you desire something else? Do you desire lust, or do you desire something much more greater than anything in the whole world, riches or any of that? Maybe a title. Maybe you want to become the strongest swordsman. Or maybe you want to just become the best gunslinger. Don't you think, Issei? This is where, well, Issei didn't know about guns also. His grandfather, he went off the railing with Issei, kind of just like, instead of teaching him normal basic kid things, guns and swords. So, of course, Issei does know a little bit about guns and how to use them. Don't worry about that. But this is where, well, Issei was still a child, but this is where Issei kind of smiles and then tell his grandfather that he doesn't know. Maybe he will one day tell his grandfather what he wanted to be. But yeah, this is where, well, for some reason, when he was remembering all that, the sword was reacting to Issei's kind of unconscious desires. Mostly something that Issei has unknowingly kind of awakened in the sword. This is where, well, Issei kind of looks at the sword and doesn't know if he should take it or not. This is where he decides to take it, but of course he doesn't really know where to put it. So of course he wraps it around in a, what's it called, like, he kind of looks like he wraps it around to look like a backpack. Well, maybe it kind of looks like a bow staff and other stuff. You know what I'm talking about, right? Something similar to like what Rin kind of does from, what's it called, Blue Exorcist. But yeah. But of course, Issei kind of has it like that. He's going to actually talk to Kiba on how to actually use a sword, because he stopped kind of learning how to do swordsman style and even kendo and other stuff. Yes, he knows about kendo and other things when he was a child. But when his like grandfather died, mostly out of old age. But of course, Issei was saddened a lot made him become so depressed enough that the only thing that he remembers is Opie. But yeah, mostly thanks to that old man named, what's it called? What was his name? Oda. But yeah, telling a bunch of children about Opie. And Issei did get influenced by that, but mostly his grandfather was there to kind of get him away from the older man. Yes. But of course, that didn't really bother him that much. But of course, when he wrapped it around, he put it in the actually special case, or mostly a special kind of place to be in. His grandfather gave this to him and with the katana and other things when he was a child. But of course, mostly his parents didn't really want him to learn and how to use swords, and of course, mostly place it here. So yeah. But of course, Issei was at it during that time, so of course he didn't really care about learning how to use the katana anymore. But now, at this point, he kind of cares about learning how to use other weapons than just his fists. Because he remembers how he was training with Kiba and how to learn a sword. Now, of course, he wasn't that bad, unlike what's it called, original canon, again to use a sword. Because he was actually pretty decent to fight against Kiba. But he wasn't decent that much. He, forgot a bunch of stands and other things. But Kiba wasn't surprised. Well, he was surprised, but he was kind of still seeing that Issei was decent, but yeah. But Issei right now has the katana itself put in a special kind of backpack. The backpack itself is kind of like a blue kind of, it's blue a little bit, and blue and purple, but yeah. Now, Issei noticed another katana that was mostly in the corner, and of course, it was kind of, buried a little bit with stuff. The only reason that Issei noticed it was buried under some stuff is because of the strange aura that it also had. But for some reason, when he got close to it and decides to touch the katana, it felt so weird, like it was actually killing him. Of course, he takes his hand away from it and looks at it confusedly. If you can remember right, mostly, this katana is actually from his mother's side. Mostly something about her kind of grandmother or grandfather, something about being something. He can't really remember. But of course, for some reason, he's getting somewhat of a small headache, but he doesn't care. He decides to get downstairs, puts the attic stairs back up to normal, and decides to go towards the car, his family. Now, of course, he does have his backpack and other things. Now, he's just carrying this thing to kind of just say that he's going somewhere, but yeah, after school. Mostly telling his parents a lie, but yeah. This is where his parents understood. And of course, Ozzy already left to kind of go to school. But yeah, this is where Issei nodded and says that he will also be going to school. He just took a piece of bread and kind of put it in his mouth and is rushing out. Because he realized he's almost late to school. Now, of course, he's running like hell. And this is where, well, for some reason, he's actually feeling much more faster than normal. Yes, thanks to the train, he became a little bit much more faster. This is where, well, Issei is running. But before he kept running and running, he almost bumped into someone about to literally smash into their face. This is where Issei right now kind of managed to stop himself, but accidentally slipped thanks to fucking water being on the floor. And, well, mostly this, well, it wasn't, it was kind of water. Mostly it was running on the dirt, and yes, there was a puddle though. And of course, he tried to stop so he wouldn't smash into someone. But of course, he wasn't fast enough, and of course, he literally slipped into the water and smashes it into the person. Mostly slipped and right now smashes into a person. The person kind of had what's it called. So of course, who he accidentally smashed into was mostly an accident entirely. But of course, when he kind of got up, he's like, shit, I'm gonna be late to school. He said under his breath. This is where, well, he looks up and sees who exactly is on top of him. Or mostly who exactly he's on top of who. And of course, luckily he doesn't have any of his hands on top of someone's private part, but yeah. Because this person's actually a female, this person is looking at him with both of her eyes widened. And of course her hair is kind of messed up a little bit. This is where Issei says, sorry about that. This is where Issei gets up, right now puts his hand out. And of course the girl takes his hand and kind of gets up, but yeah. Now of course Issei noticed that she had a katana and Issei said, shit, I'm dead. This is where, well, Issei might have to use the katana that he kind of got, mostly from his, attic, but yeah. Of course, he's not going to use the katana, but he would have to try. This is where, well, the girl kind of looks confused at Issei, but of course she does start dusting herself off because she has a dirt on her. This is where, well, she knows a kind of, long kind of backpack thing, and of course, being on the ground. Issei picks it up real fast, puts it over him. But yeah, that's right, Issei said, sorry about that. Now, of course, Issei took a good look at her. She had a kind of blue kimono around, or not blue kimono, it's kind of like a blue kimono a little bit. But of course, she had pink hair, or yeah, she had kind of, not pink hair. She kind of had short rose hair. Mostly it was like pink, blonde a little bit, but yeah. Of course, golden brown eyes, or mostly don't look like they were actually golden. And of course, the katana itself was actually white and black. The guard itself kind of looked like a flower pattern, but yeah. But this is where, well, mostly she was kind of dusting her hair off. And of course, Sakura petals is actually falling down from a tree. And Issei, for some reason, turned away because he was actually having a tint of blush. Because for some reason he thought in his head, holy shit, adorable. This is where Issei coughed into his mostly hand and just says, sorry about that. Can you please? Well, mostly Issei says, sorry about that. I need to be going to school. This is where Issei ran off. And this is where the girl kind of looks at Issei and says, sure. This is where, well, she looks confused, but this is where, well, she kind of went off. This is where Issei is saying, damn it, I'm going to be late from school, late. This is where he sees the gate about to be closing, thanks to a janitor. He says, shit, how the fuck am I gonna... This is where Issei says, wait, am I not a devil? I should just jump over the fucking fence. This is where, when the gate guard managed to kind of close the fence, Issei, he grabbed the fucking, mostly he jumped onto like the wall of the fence, jumped over and kind of landed on, what's it called, bush, behind a bush, and behind a tree. This is where, well, Issei was sighing and saying, I managed to get here. Now I just gotta run to class. But of course, they're gonna question where the fuck I was. Gotta make up a lie, something. Whatever. Issei ran off, but he didn't notice the crowd of females right now gathering up, and of course, it's like talking kind of really loud. Of course, Issei heard it, but he thought it was just fucking rumors and blah 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 about whatever gossip bullshit. But this is where, well, he was getting towards his class. Now, of course, he didn't really know where to put the damn katana thing, so of course, he just decided to brought it with him. He doesn't care. This is where, well, he kind of just like goes into his class, and of course, the teacher was kind of introducing someone, and of course, when he saw Issei, he says, Hyoto, where have you been? Issei chuckles and says, oops, sorry, I was just get to my, what's it called, chair. This is where, well, the person sighs and says, yeah, whatever. Of course, he didn't really care about what Issei had in his back. He had his backpack and had something else. This is where no one else was paying attention to him, which Issei says, thank the fuck God, fuck it. This is where, well, Issei gets to his, like, what's it called, mostly chair. He doesn't see Matsue and Murahama, which he's confused where the fuck they're at, and then he thought maybe they're peeping on the female. But then again, the kendo girls are not at what's it called, in the kendo class, which he's just confused where they'll be at, but whatever. This is where, well, when he kind of recognized and what is happening in this class, he realized that there's a new student, a new male student. Now, this male student has what's it called black hair, bright kind of bluish, they're kind of bright, kind of cross-eyed blue eyes, and of course, well, his skin seems to be kind of tan, palish a little bit, but yeah, well, palish and tan a little bit. This is where, well, mostly everyone was questioning who this person is, which a person introduced himself as Edward Straw. Now, of course, well, after kind of saying his name, people thought that he's not from this place, he might be from one of the Western countries, which he explains that he's from Ireland, and of course, well, he also explains that, well, he's from Ireland and he already has a girlfriend and no need to ask him out. But yeah, this is where, well, all the girls are shot down in an instant. Issei says, that's cold as fuck, but I don't care. This is where Issei isn't right now thinking about the new student. He's actually thinking about something else. Mostly about memories of his grandfather. He's really not paying attention. Actually, I've been complaining. Which some of the girls are surprised that he's actually staying quiet and isn't bursting out loud, unlike Murahama and Matsue. But Issei is not right now paying attention to any of that. But of course, well, Edward is going to sit kind of in the other side of mostly Issei's kind of side. But yeah, very other side. But yeah, this is where, well, everyone is kind of going on with class, and this is where girls are glancing at, well, mostly Edward, and of course, where Issei glances once at Edward, but doesn't really care. This is where, well, he says, oh, cool, new student, fuck's sakes, I don't care. This is where, well, Issei then kind of looks out the window. kind of thinking in what to do. Now, of course, it worked well. How should he get stronger? That's what he's thinking most of the time. This will work well. When he kind of is right now thinking about that, this will work well. Issei went off to, well, mostly when the class is dismissed, he's kind of going off to kind of get to his like next class. But before doing that, he kind of look around the hallways to look for Kiba and other things, just to spot him and actually talk to him for a little bit. Now, of course, doesn't work well. He doesn't see anyone, but he sees a crowd of girls kind of chasing after Edward and more fan clubs. And of course, Edward is called the second Prince of Kuwo, but yeah, he is already named. Which Issei says, yeesh, Kiba has some competition, I guess. This is where Issei says, then again, Kiba isn't interested in that many girls. Yeah, whatever. I'll ask him later. Never mind. This is where Issei is looking around for Kiba. Of course, where he hasn't seen Matsui or Morohama, which he doesn't care. Of course, this is where he's looking around and saying, damn it, Kiba, where the hell will you be at? Whatever. This is where, well, Issei kind of walks off to his next class, kind of get into it, skip to it, like just skip through a bunch of classes because there weren't really that much stuff that he really paid attention about. He didn't really care. But of course, it worked well. Issei is now at lunch, and of course is looking around. This worked well. He feels Kiba's energy for a second kind of spike up, and right now probably in battle. This is where Issei says, damn it. This worked well. He's rushing towards the energy signature, and when he gets towards Kiba's side, Kiba is right now kind of fighting against the second, well, mostly Prince of Kuwo. Issei noticed this, but this worked well. He was confused. It's worked well. The second Prince of Kuwo has a katana, or not even a katana, a Western mid sword, and of course Kiba does have also a sword, but he has his, what's it called, Holy Eraser, while the other dude kind of has a normal sword standard, but of course it was a little bringing out some holy energy a little bit, which Kiba felt it and got angry about it, thinking it was a holy sword. Not one of the Excaliburs, but still very annoyed. This worked well. Edward says, so, you're the first Prince of Kuwo. Not gonna lie, you don't seem that strong. Then again, you are a devil. So, if I defeat you now, do you think your king or whoever it is will go after me? I just wanted to test out some skills to see how strong am I against the devils in this place. This is where, well, Issei is right now confused, but this is where when Kiba and Edward fight, Edward is actually having much more of, what's it called, power boost, and actually being able to overpower Kiba. He managed to cut Kiba in the chest, and right now managed to kick him in the stomach, pushing him into the, what's it called, ground. Kiba coughed up a little bit of blood, and this is where Issei says, Kiba! This is where Kiba looks up and says, Issei. This is where he has one of his eyes closed, and looking at Issei. This is where, well, mostly Edward looks up and says, another devil. You seem to be quite weaker than Kiba here. I shouldn't keep myself bothered with you. This is where Issei growls. Right now uses the thing on his back, but not unsheathing the katana. Mostly, think of it when Rin kind of uses his katana without unsheathing it or taking it out of his backpack and smashing it into someone. That's what Issei does. This is where mostly Ezra managed to block it with his arm, and Rin should jump back. This is where Issei says, you bastard, what the hell did you do to Kiba? This is where Kiba is really unable to kind of move that much. He feels paralyzed a little bit. Maybe the sword that Edward has some kind of special ability, but yeah. This is where, well, they hear kind of screaming behind, and of course, it's none other than Moriyama and Catherine. Issei right now exclaims for Moriyama and, what's it called, Catherine to kind of get to the Kiba out of here. And he says it in a very harsh tone to kind of get him out of here and bring him towards the ORC. This is where Kiba is trying to get up, and this is where, well, he can barely move that much. This is where, well, the two girls kind of look stunned, but this is where Issei screams out to now get him out of here. This is where Kiba tries to mostly protest against Issei that he is right now, well, not he's stupid, mostly this is stupid, he can still fight against Edward here. This is where, well, Issei grumbles and says, you already lost, just get out of here. I will try to hold him off, try to bring what's called Rias and the others. This is where, well, Kiba tried to explain, but this is where, well, he almost falls down, and Catherine and Mariama kind of grab him and say, well, let's just go. Kiba-kun, we gotta bring you somewhere. This is where, well, they're kind of thinking of bringing them towards the orc. Well, first the nurse, but then bringing them towards the, well, yeah, the orc class, mostly the club and other things, which they're about to go do that. Until Mariano kind of glances once towards Issei to see if he will be fine against, well, she really doesn't care, but she's still kind of worried about him to see if he will be fine against a person who literally has a sword. This is where Issei right now unsheathes his like backpack and right now takes out a purplish katana, which she kind of noticed, and of course the katana itself is quite beautiful. This is where, well, but she still felt a very strange energy from it, but she didn't mind. Right now carrying Kiba Yuta towards the kind of orc class, or mostly club, but yeah. This is where, well, Edward narrows his eyes and looks at Issei, saying, huh, so you're gonna be fighting me. And right now, Eastern kind of style of battle of a katana. Not gonna lie, who do you think is stronger? Eastern swords or Western swords? This is where, well, Edward proclaims. He says, kind of grins and says, I guess you can say Eastern swords are quite much better. Not gonna lie, much more faster and flexible to be able to cut anyone. This is where, well, we'll see Edward chuckles and says, well, if that's so true, then fight me. Show me who is stronger here, you or me, Issei Hyodo. Issei grins and says, bring it on. I'm going to give revenge for what you did to my brother, or mostly my best friend. Or not best friend, mostly someone, my brother figure. This is where, well, mostly Edward grins and says, bring it then. This is where Edward kind of activates a little bit more power into the sword, and it does have much more holy power. This is where Issei gets unnerved, but this is where Issei doesn't care. He pulls out the sword from the kind of sheath, and this is where, well, the sword itself kind of looks a little bit rusty, and Issei says, shit, I forgot to clean it. Damn it, my grandfather did always tell me it would be kind of, This is where, well, but this is where he remembers one memory. Never clean the sword. This is where, well, or never clean the sword until you know its name. This is where, well, Issei was confused when he was a child. But of course, this is where he grins, just kind of looking always at the katana. This is where, well, Issei still looks at the rusted sword and says, damn it. Edward kind of looks at this and says, what the hell is that? Did you forget to clean it? Well, whatever. Bring it on. This is where he rushes at Issei with blinding speed. Issei right now uses the katana to smash against, what's it called, the Western sword. This is where, well, both their kind of swords are clashing. This is where Edward looks surprised. But this is where Edward sent a kick into Issei. Issei managed to get hit, but this is where, well, he managed to still stabilize himself to be okay. This is where, well, Issei right now goes into a style that's quite unfamiliar for Edward, because mostly he's not from Japan. But this, mostly sword style is also quite different from normal sword styles and what's it called, Japan anyway. It's mostly the style that he's trying to kind of do the same against, well, mostly what his grandfather taught him. This is where, well, Issei rushes at Edward right now, trying to swing at him, right now being kind of horizontal. Well, kind of, yeah, horizontal, but a little bit kind of, a little bit curved up. This is where, well, mostly Edward winded his eyes, and this is where when he jumps back, he had a little bit cut on his chin. This is where, well, he kind of touches it and says, wow, you managed to cut me. You're doing much better than that Kiba kid. And I thought he was supposed to be the strongest. It seems that you're a little bit stronger than him. Then show me what you have. This is where, well, Issei right now kind of blocks another slash attack from Edward, and of course they're both kind of fighting. This is where, well, Issei can see that the sword is getting chipped on it, and this is where Issei says, damn it, damn it. He's trying to block more, but of course he can't even block in the attacks against Edward. He's using two-handed sword, mostly two-handed on the sword. This is where, well, Issei does feel like he's getting overpowered against Edward. This is where, well, Edward says, it seems that you're getting overpowered, kid. Just give up already. It seems that you're not truly a very powerful style in this mostly style we have. It seems that you're kind of having your own style is kind of broken in pieces. Well, I should be the one to eliminate you now. This is where Edward has a little bit more holy power into the sword. It seems the sword seems to be a holy, like a holy relic or something, because it's being able to be increased with more magic that Edward has. Edward now sends a very powerful slash, a light slash right towards Issei. Issei cannot dodge it. Well, he can, but of course at the same time, he doesn't feel like he needs to dodge it. For some reason, he doesn't want to dodge it. This is where, well, Issei for some reason doesn't have that much fear. Instead, he has nothing but frustration and anger in his body. Because he's truly a weakling in a bunch of cases. He can't even use his grandfather's katana. Mostly that's called unknown. But this is where, well, he's glaring at the very strong light slash that can easily wound him a lot. It might probably put him in the hospital for like a long ass time. Probably Ozzy's healing will not be able to heal him. This is where, well, Issei is glaring at this, and of course, he's not fearing it. His double instinct for some reason shut the hell up already. This is where, well, he's looking at this until mostly he hears something deep within him, or not even within him, mostly something that's flowing through his body, without even noticing this. Mostly the sword itself, the kind of katana itself, is calling upon him, saying, "Say my name. Say my name." This is where, well, Issei is hearing this. Issei doesn't know what's happening, but this is where, well, he for some reason is hearing this, like, voice, and this is where, well, Issei keeps hearing it and hearing it. The sword, mostly the light slash, is coming closer and closer and closer. Say my name. Say my name. This is where the voice is still so distorted. But this is where Issei managed to hear the name. And this is where, well, Issei chants the name and says, Enma. Right now, with his voice being also distorted. This is where a bright, dark flash actually appears. Right now, kind of like darkening the place, but right now destroying the light slash itself. Just to where, well, mostly Edward had to dodge in an instant when a dark, very powerful dark demonic slash almost rips into him. This is where he just managed to dodge, and trees behind him were just instantly cut but had some black flames on them. When he kind of looks towards Issei's side, Issei was no longer the same. Issei itself had this, what's it called? Mostly blade. Mostly he had the katana out, but of course it was black. It was a black blade itself. No longer rusted, no longer chipped with any of the cuts or any of that. Well, mostly of the blade. This is where, well, it was sharp, very sharp. Like, it can probably cut thin air with such ease. But of course, it had this very powerful fiery aura towards it also, like hell or something. This is where, well, the katana itself, the black blade, it was a very jet black. This is where, well, not just that just standing out, but Issei's hand was coated into being black a little bit. This is where, well, Issei growls at, what's it called, Edward, with such a very ferocious and at the same time kind of feral growl, like if he was some kind of wild animal. This is where Issei's teeth, mostly his kind of right side of the teeth and other things inside his mouth, looks to become sharpened a little bit. His eyes seem to become red also. Mostly, what's it called, his right side eye. It became a little bit tinted red instead of being goldenish brown. This is where, well, Issei's hair itself, instead of being brown, it became darker brown than normal. This is where Issei is growling at Edward. Black lines actually did appear from his hand all the way, all the way up to his like shoulder, and probably his like face did have a little bit of lines. Like, think of it like Karma Seal, but it wasn't Karma Seal. This is where, well, Issei growls at, what's it called, Edward. This is where, well, Edward didn't know what to do, but of course he grinned instead at, what's it called, Issei's new appearance. This is where, well, Issei had the katana itself. Right now, kind of having it with one hand and his other hand, he instead, in his other hand, he saw two kind of like swords, two kind of created by Akiba, two kind of katanas by Akiba before he left. And of course, Issei decides to grab them. Of course, well, he grabs one of them, and this is where he grabs the other one. But before grabbing it he didn't grab it with his right hand, he just grabbed it with his left hand. This is where, well, Issei remembers a style that was actually quite interesting to him, and mostly interested him a lot because it was called three sword style. This is where, well, Issei grabs a katana and puts it in his mouth, and the other one he has it in his left hand. This is where, well, Issei gets in a stance, crouching down, and having, well, one of the kind of sword that he has in his mouth, the blade itself is going to the right, while, well, mostly his left hand is kind of being behind him. and of course having the sword itself, and Enma's right now in front of him. This is where, well, Edward smiles and grins and says, "Quite interesting stand style. I have never seen a three sword style ever in my life. Bring it on!" How should I say? "What is your name?" Issei doesn't respond, but this is where Edward says, "Fine. I'll just call you Devil." This is where he says, "Bring it on, Devil!" This is where they rush at each other in blinding speed. This is where Edward right now gets almost slashed with both of his mostly not both of his katanas. Edward almost gets hit by Issei's kind of sword called Enma, but he managed to block it with his own sword, and of course, well, something happens. His own sword was literally cut into two. This is where Edward widened his eyes. The sword itself, the one sword that Issei was holding before, is much more powerful and much more deadlier. That just like cut through a holy sword without a care in the world. This is where Edward jumps back. This is where he grins at Issei and says, "You're quite powerful, very powerful. Even if you look more demonic than normal, you're still quite powerful." He puts the two sword fragments into a rift before pulling out another sword. This sword is much more powerful than the other one. It has much more holy power itself. But yeah, containing itself. It looks to feel like an Excalibur fragment or something. This is where, well, mostly Edward says, "Bring it on. Show me what you can do, Devil." This is where, well, Issei rushes at with a car. Edward. This is where they are both clashing with swords. This is where Edward's managed to block all the sword slashes from Issei, mostly all three of them. And this is where, well, Edward's trying to right now try to figure out where to hit Issei. This is where he tries to slash down, and this is where Issei managed to block with all three of his swords. This is where, well, mostly Edward says, "Damn, it's quite skill, very skill." Now, I should mention one thing. Issei is kind of unconscious on this. He is not in fully control, but he feels like he's in control, but he's like moving through water. That's how he feels. He feels like he's moving through water. It's pretty hard to move, but yeah. This is where, well, Issei is still kind of moving faster than Edward for some reason. Edward's saying, "Damn, you're faster than I thought, Devil-kun. Show me what you can do." This is where, well, they're fighting and keep clashing until Edward sent a powerful holy slash down. And this is where Issei managed to try to block it with the two katanas and even Enma. And this is where, well, the holy slash managed to overpower Issei, but this is where Issei managed to cut the holy slash with the black sword. And yes, this is where, well, the two katanas that Issei had right now shatters. And this is where Issei drops them in an instant. Issei is right now panting a little bit. This is where, well, Edward smiles and says, "You're quite powerful, very powerful. Show me what you can do more. Show me." This is where he's kind of demanding Issei now. Issei is right now gritting his teeth. This is where, well, Issei says, "I'm not losing. Not to you. No, I'm not losing. I'm not giving up. I won't let his memory die. I won't give up. No." This is where Issei is saying it under his breath. Of course, this is where Edward seems confused. And this is where, well, Issei says, "I won't let you down, grandfather." This is where, well, Issei kind of says that last part very quietly. And this is where, well, Issei right now is getting, for some reason, much more powerful. But this is where Issei is yelling out, saying, "I won't give up." This is where, well, one of his eyes becomes a crystallized blue color, mostly his left eye, while mostly his hair that was around, kind of covering his hair, around his mostly left eye, mostly starts becoming kind of sober. This is where, well, he's starting to awaken some other different power, instead of just using Enma itself, mostly the sword, that is called. This is where, well, Issei right now reaches into his left hand in front of him, because for some reason, he has the instinct to grab in front of him. And this is where Issei calls upon a name that he doesn't understand. But this is where, well, for some reason he understands a lot about the sword. He doesn't know what his name, well, he knows the name, but he doesn't know what exactly this sword means to him. But for some reason it means a lot to him. This is where, well, Issei calls upon the name Yamato. This is where, well, a flash appears, like a blue silver flash appears right in front of him, right now blinding Edward for a little bit, until Edward kind of opened his eyes back again to see a katana, another katana in Issei's left hand. Now, this other katana seems to have such a powerful energy source. But of course, it seems to be mostly countering against the other blade. It seems to be hurting Issei's body a little bit more. Issei coughed up a little bit of blood, but he doesn't care. Does it work? Well, Yamato is right now. The handle itself is white. It's like a white katana. The guard itself is golden, but the blade itself is like a silverish, but it's like a silver white, a very silverish white and lightish. And this work, well, it's having this very powerful energy. It feels demonic, but at the same time not demonic. But yeah, this work, well, it feels like it hates demonic things a lot. And right now, being held by Issei seems to be hurting Issei a little bit more. This work, well, Issei grits his teeth and he doesn't care. This work, well, Issei looks at mostly Edward. Edward right now grins and says, "Quite interesting. You're quite interesting. Show me what you can do, right now." Well, not Issei. He says, "Show me what you can do." Double Sen. He stopped calling Issei Double-kun, mostly Double Sen. And this is where Issei grits his teeth and rushes at Edward with blinding speed. Edward winds his eyes and says, "What the?" This is where, Edward tries to swing his sword down in an instant, while Issei blocks it with both of his katanas in an instant. This is where, Edward and Issei are right now fighting each other in an instant in a very powerful struggle of power and slashes. This is where, Issei isn't using the sacred gear just yet. He actually completely forgot about the sacred gear itself. So yeah, this is where, he's mostly fighting in the pride of a swordsman. Like a pride of a swordsman, not his own pride, but mostly a pride of like a swordsman and the beliefs of his grandfather. His late grandfather. But yeah, this sword, well, the other sword he doesn't know, but he feels like it's connected with his mother. His grandfather, the one that's kind of used with the black katana, is connected with his father, but the other one is connected with his mother for some reason. But of course, he's right now blocking, slashing at mostly at Edward, and Edward's right now just blocking the attacks, looking ahead of himself and seeing the power that Issei is erupting from his body. Edward is smiling and grinning, saying, "Bring it on. Show me more. Show me more." Now, of course, Edward does know that this is crazy, but battle. He didn't really want to use too much, holy energy from the sword. It will react. Well, not react. It will erupt if he keeps going on. He might, erupt with so much holy energy into the sword, and he might kind of get noticed by some pantheons. Maybe also that of the three factions, which he's trying to avoid, but he is fighting Issei and he doesn't care that much about it no more. He's actually enjoying himself a lot. Against Issei, he doesn't know Issei's name, but of course, he has heard of Issei being called one of the perverted trios. Well, one of the perverted trios, mostly from a lot of people, like whispers and other things. But of course, he remembers another two people that were called the perverted trios. But it was two people that he didn't really like and easily knocked the hell out of them. Mostly being Morohama and Masui. Right now sending them to a hospital. Now, of course, Issei doesn't know about this, but if he did, he will probably be even more pissed. This is where, he then grins. And this is where, he jumps away from Issei's kind of like sword attack with Yamato. And this is where Yamato managed to cut Edward in the shoulder. This is where Edward kind of like touches it and says, "Wow, that sword itself seems to be easily able to cut through air. No, cut through light. So much faster than the reaction speed. So amazing." This is where, he looks at Issei with such a very kind of relaxed tone. And right now grinning at Issei. And right now smiling and saying, "You're quite, how should I say? You're quite the most powerful swordsman I have been fighting in this school. That blondish hair too couldn't even keep up mostly put up a good fight against me with that one sword, that dual sword that I use, just to test those devils if they're powerful more than me. No, they're not more powerful than me. I felt their energy, and yet your energy is managing to cover up their energy. You're much more powerful, but you feel like human, but yet incarnated. Are you a devil incarnated by any chance?" Issei says, and what does that mean by a standards then? Issei said, finally talking, instead of being quiet. This is where, well, Edward says, oh, you can talk. I thought you were muted the whole time. But tell me, are you really a devil incarnated? There's no way in hell you're a devil incarnated with having so much power like this. This is where, well, Issei scoffed, and this is where he stopped talking entirely. Shut up and just fight me, you bastard. I'm gonna get revenge for what you did to, well, not Issei, mostly to Kiba. This is where, well, this is where Edward kind of just like puts his hand, well, mostly a finger to his mouth, and right now grins a little bit. And this is where Issei kind of looks at the grin and says, what are you grinning like? Tell me, Issei, tell me, Devil-san, do you know someone, well, two people named, Matsui and Motohama? Issei narrows his eyes and says, why are you bringing my friends into this? Oh, so you are friends. Do you know what happened to them? Issei says, they probably got their ass kicked by the Kendo class. Oh, no, not exactly. I put them in the hospital this morning. Issei widened his eyes and narrowed them so coldly at Edward. Edward grins and says, oh, it seems that triggered you. Tell me, Issei, or not Issei, tell me, pervert, or not pervert, you're definitely not a pervert. Your power, your energy, the fact that you are getting angry at me, the fact that I hurt some of your friends. You're definitely not a pervert, but someone kind and gentle. Tell me, does that really piss you off that I hurt two of your friends? Tell me, would that make you much angrier? Would that get you much more powerful? Show me what you can do more. The sword, well, Edward's sword right now erupted with holy light. Right now, a couple of people managed to felt this energy. Not a couple of people, a bunch of people around the school, even those who aren't in the supernatural. But of course, it worked. Well, when we go into Kiba, who got to the the orc class or club room, and of course telling Rias about this, and of course Barney able to explain what is happening. It's where Rias right now kind of like tags along with Akuno, or mostly Akuno tags along with Rias, but this is where they get a call from Sona about the holy energy, and they are going. But yeah, Sona did tell what's it called her barrage to stay here and take order, just saying that it's just some weird like testing light thing, something like that, just to tell the students. But yeah, this is where Sona is kind of walking with Sabaki towards Rias. But yeah, but this is where a bright light flashes up, and they felt the holy energy, so much of it. But this is where, well, something they felt that was more demonic and sinister, fighting against the holy energy. This is where Issei right now erupted with this black energy, but it wasn't being able to overpower the holy energy, the bright holy energy that Edward was launching up to the sky. This is where, well, Issei right now trying to use more demonic energy with his body, but it feels like his body is getting more hurt than normal. This is where, well, he calls upon the sword that he's having in his right hand, saying, Enma, King of Hell itself. This is where, well, he fully kind of names the sword, and this is where he then says, Yamato, Devil Slayer. This is where, well, both swords right now brighten up real fast. One has a very dark, malicious, purplish energy, and of course the other one it has having a bright kind of silverish blue kind of energy. This is where, well, Issei is right now gritting his teeth at, well, mostly Edward, and Edward is grinning and saying, it's time to see who's more powerful, you or me, Devil. But before I go on, tell me, Devil, what is your name? Issei scoffs and says, my name? The name's Issei No, it's not Issei Hyodo. I will take my late grandfather's name. I'm sorry about this, grandfather, but I'll be taking your name. This is where, well, Issei says, the name is Issei. This is where, for some reason, before he even says the last name of his grandfather, for some reason, the last name kind of changed a little bit. This is where Issei kind of says, the name's Issei Sparta Ro Noah. Remember that name, asshole. This is where, well, right now, Edward was surprised a little bit, but this is where Edward grins and says, interesting names. Interesting last names. Well, then tell me, do you think you will be able to survive this, or even destroy my attack? Show me what you can do. Holy divine punishment. That's what he called it, the slash. This is where, well, Issei right now kind of grit his teeth and says, "Screw you, asshole!" This is where, well, he kind of calls upon Yamato and also was it called Enma. And this is where, well, he then says, "Yamato, super," well, most he says, "Double Slayer Silverlish Blue Slash." This is where he swings a super blue slash in front of him. And this is where he then calls upon Enma. And this is where he says, "Enma, King of Hell," what's called Hell Flame Slash. This is where he swings both of them in front of him. And right now, both slash clashes upon the, what's it called, Divine Punishment slash. This is where, well, they both collide. And of course, both of them just making a rub energy. A huge ball of white energy and black right now destroying itself. This is where, well, Edward smiles, of course, being a little bit tired. But this is where Issei appears. Same bastard. This is where, well, Issei still had his, well, weird-looking form. Of course, being in this weird-looking form. But he had to drop Yamato. But Yamato dissipated after a while. This is where his eye went back to normal. And, of course, his hair. This is where, well, he still had Enma. But this is where he felt like Enma is actually getting depleted and becoming back to normal. Or mostly not being depleted, but mostly kind of taking his energy and his life energy. Which he had to let go of it because Drake actually appears and says, "Issei, let go of the sword." Issei said, "No." This is where he had to drop it, but this is where he still had the boosted gear that appear, and he just says, "Drake, I'm going to have to need a little bit of your boost." This is where, well, Drake says, "No, I can't. Don't hurt your body, please." This is where Drake says, "Fine, boost." But before anything else happened, when he managed to drop Enma dropped to the ground, right now stabbing, but this is where he turned back to its original kind of form. Right now, being a rustic kind of katana, but this is where his hand itself was still black, and when the sacred gear appeared, the sacred gear itself, instead of being red, it started becoming black itself. This is where, when Drake says boost, the black started intensifying. This is where Issei says, "Screw you, asshole." This is where, right now, Edward winds his eyes. And literally, when the sacred gear dissipates, because it said reset because they were burning any time for Issei to even be able to increase the boost, the reset managed to be slightly into the punch of when Issei managed to clock Edward in the face so hard. This is where, Edward was launched into a tree, smashing upon that tree and coughing up a little bit of blood. This is where Issei falls down to the ground in an instant. Issei tries to get up, and this is where he feels his body hurting like hell. It's just in pain all over. This is the most painful, pain that he ever felt. More painful against what's it called, Rainer and even Reiser's attack. That's where Issei, this is where he feels like everything is hurting. His hand itself just started turning back to normal. This is where, Issei falls down to the ground, and of course, this is where he's trying to get up, but of course, he can't get up. He passed out in an instant. Edward, on the other hand, his holy sword, he needed to just kind of put it back into the tower roof, and of course, he passed out. Right now, having a small grin on his face. Issei, on the other hand, had a very frown and a just scoff on his face. But yeah. This is where, when the Double Heiresses managed to get there, they kind of saw Issei and even Edward on the ground. Now, Enma itself managed to turn back to normal, but then dissipate into energy and go into Issei. And a marking appeared on Issei's arm. This is where, well, Issei was too tired, and this is where Edward was too tired. But when they managed to kind of get there, mostly Sona picked up Issei, while Rias kind of picks up Edward, and right now looking at Edward and saying, "He's actually kind of cute." This is where Rias kind of thinks on her head, but yeah. Sona looks at Issei, confusing what really happened, but probably just thinking that Issei might have fought against Edward or something. But they look at the surroundings, and yeah, it was no normal fight. But she doesn't understand, but yeah. This is where, well, they kind of get towards what's called the nurse office, and put Edward and Issei in not in the same bed, mostly in the opposite sides of beds, but yeah. This is where, well, Sona was kind of very confused on what to do, but of course, this is where she just kind of put the nurse office off limits from anyone to go in. So no, girls from, classes will go in and try to molest, Edward. And that kind of goes the same for Issei, but yeah, or mostly kind of attack him. But yeah, since he is kind of called the perverted trio. But of course, with that happening, we go into mostly a time skip of a couple of hours. Issei starts waking up, and this is where he says that, oh, such a killer fucking headache. Ugh, asshole. This is where Issei screams out in his head, or mostly in under his breath. And this is where, well, he hears, who are you calling an asshole, Double-san? Or should I say Issei? Issei opened his eyes. One of his eyes narrowed them with such cold, what's it called, anger towards the person who just literally called him Issei. This is where, well, it's none other than, what's it called, Edward, and Edward kind of grins at Issei and says, yo, it seems that you woken up. It seems that you woken up after me. Then again, you seem to be really hurt in your body. So I can't really complain about that. But tell me, Issei, what's it called? Issei, how should I say? What was her name? I think it was Issei Ronoa. Tell me, Issei Ronoa, how did you get to possession such quite powerful swords that you have in your possession? Also, where are they exactly? Issei grits his teeth and says, none of your fucking business. Hector right now frowns and says, oh, okay, fine. But tell me, Issei, you're quite powerful, yet you were kind of reformed but not informed in your sword style, but still it's quite interesting. And I saw you were positioned in the sacred gear. Longitis, I can tell a little bit. But yeah, now that I've kind of recognized, instead of be fighting you of your energy and recognize it, you're kind of draconic a little bit. So I'm guessing you have a draconic sacred gear. Kind of feels like a longitis. Could it be one of the dragon longitises? White or red? That's where he looks at Issei. Issei scoffs and says, none of your damn business. Well, since you punched me with a gauntlet, I'm guessing you, But of course, this is where, well, Issei is kind of like looking at, well, Edward, and this is where, well, Enter says, could be the Red Heavenly Emperor Dragon. Probably Drake you have. Well, quite interesting. Or not Drake. You probably have the Red Heavenly Emperor Dragon. That gauntlet. But it turned black when the fucking punched me. Which, not gonna lie, that hurt like a bitch. He's right now smoothing his cheek. And this is where, well, he kind of looks at Issei and grins and says, still, quite powerful you have. You're quite a powerful individual. So tell me, what's your dream? Issei right now looks at Edward, but before even saying anything, the door widened open, and of course, what steps in is Sona's Parage and Ria's Parage. This is where, well, what's it called? So the two double Parages that appear was none other than Sona, Rias, and, well, two other people. Mostly being, what's it called, Catherine and, what's it called, that being Catherine and what the Catherine and Moriyama, but yeah, this is where, well, they kind of look kind of worried a little bit, but yeah, Issei doesn't really think they're worried about him, but this is where Issei kind of looks up and says, are you, this is where, well, when Issei was kind of just soaring, kind of like smoothing out and taking out some of the sleep out of his eyes, he basically got slapped the shit out of. This is where, well, Sona, Sabaki, and everyone else in what's it called Sona's Parage, what's it called, Catherine, and what's it called, Moriyama widened their eyes. This is where Edward seems to be surprised. Issei just got slapped the shit out of by Rias. This is where, well, Issei says, ugh. This is where he grabs the cheek, and right now, his cheek seems to be sore red. So Issei says, ugh. This is where Sona screams out, saying, Issei, Rias, what are you doing? This is where Rias kind of looks at Issei with kind of disgusted eyes and says, what were you doing? Why do you attack the new student? She kind of said with a demanding tone. This is where, well, Akano seems surprised, and even what's it called, Konako seems to even flinch at the slap. Even Kiba, this is where Asya seems to be kind of winding her eyes and right now looking confused. This is where, well, Kiba tries to talk to, what's it called, Well, mostly Kiba didn't tell Rias about the full story because he was still too hurt. But yeah, this is where, well, Issei looked surprised and looked up and said, "What are you talking about?" This is where, well, Rias says, "Why did you attack Edward Kun?" This is where, well, Issei looked surprised, and this is where, well, he narrowed his eyes very coldly a little bit. This is where Issei says, "What the hell are you talking about? He attacked Kiba. I just had to help Kiba." This is where Rias kind of looks at and narrows her eyes and says, "Are you lying to me? Are you trying to think that I will believe that?" This is where, well, Issei grit his teeth in an instant, right now getting annoyed with what Rias is demanding about him because he's clearly telling the truth. Maria seems to be blind and raging in anger or something. This is where, well, Issei glares at Rias and says, "What the hell are you talking about? I'm clearly telling you the truth." This is where, well, Rias kind of glares a little bit at Issei, and this is where Issei glares a little bit at her. This is where, well, or Rias is fully glaring at Issei while Issei just looks at her with such a confused look. This is where, well, we'll see Rias kind of looks at Issei and kind of tells Issei that he's no longer welcome back at the ORC club. This is where, well, basically she's kicking him out. This is where Issei looks at her surprised and says, "What? What do you mean?" Damn it. This is where, well, Edward was about to explain himself because he looks kind of confused in what is happening. This is where, well, Rias kind of looks at Issei and telling him this, and this is where, well, Son looks surprised, and this is where she was about to kind of tell Rias and what the fuck she's going on about until Issei fully fucking snapped. He didn't fucking care no more. He basically became just like his grandfather. Mostly a ghostly grandfather figure appeared behind Issei. The fuck you mean? Just because I attack? No, I didn't attack Edward. No, that wasn't even the case. I was literally battling him just because he attacked Kiba-kun. And you are now just attacking me just because I defended Kiba? What the fuck is wrong with you? Issei right now exclaims. Everyone is shocked in an instant out of Issei's words. Even with Edward, he seems just surprised about him. But of course not surprised because he doesn't fully really know about Issei or anything. He just thought Issei was another pervert or something. But he can really respect about Issei's kind of power and what's it called? Well, kind of being a swordsman. That's where Issei screams out, "You think..." This is where Issei gets more angry and annoyed and right now frustrated. Just because. What? You get to slap me just because I'm your damn servant? You stupid bitch. Oh, I should have never fucking helped you with that fucking riser problem. Actually, I should have never even fucking bothered. I should have just became a fucking stray. You know what? Maybe a stray is a better life than being with you. A damn fucking whore that doesn't understand anything. Just because you overreact when a pretty boy gets hurt. Ugh. This is where Issei's getting more frustrated. Just because I decide to actually protect my friend. A good friend I decide to, well, make with Kiba. I see him as a brother, and just because I see him as a brother, you think it's a good idea to slap me. And without even asking questions, and what the fuck happened. No, you just decide to go on with a fucking little brat style and fucking hit me just because the fact that I attacked, what's it called, Edward. We are both the same injuries, and you just decide to hurt someone who's literally injured. You stupid fucking whore. This is where, well, Issei is right now snapping on Rias, and this is where Issei says, "God, I even know that you fucking set up the fucking Rainer stabbing me with the fucking light spear." This is where, well, Issei's cussing at the same time, and kind of getting angry and frustrated. This is where Rias winds her eyes, realizing that Issei knows about what's called the whole setup with what's called Rainer killing him, and of course reviving him and making her be a saint or something. This is where, when the others kind of hear about this, they look kind of disgusted a little bit. Right now, Ozzy looks surprised and right now scared. Right now, Edward narrows his eyes coldly. Sona looks at this right now with surprised eyes, but narrows them coldly and calculating. And this is where, well, Sabaki right now is surprised also. This is where Kiba, Akano, and even Koneko kind of flinches because they were kind of having problems in part of it. But yeah, being a part of it a little bit. And this is where, well, Issei said, if I didn't have the stupid sacred gear with me, if I didn't have Drake with me, What? Will you just kill me just because a fallen angel just decided to kill me out of fucking nowhere? Were you not going to help me? Maybe if I didn't have such a powerful sacred gear that you needed to actually fight against Riser, that fucking fried chicken? Here's what, well, Rias flinches a little bit at the freaking anger and malicious was a call. Mostly Issei's one eye, mostly was a call. His right eye is becoming red again, and right now he's having sharp teeth in his mouth, like if he's having Enma right now in the sword, in the flesh and other stuff, or not in the flesh. Mostly kind of having this black energy appears on his hand, and the sword. He says, "Just because I didn't have the sacred gear, what? Will you just let me die against a fallen angel just because I didn't have a sacred gear?" This is where Issei is breathing out very heavily, and this is where Issei looked at Rias, right now with narrow eyes, and Issei said, "Fuck you. I fucking rather become a stray than ever deal with you ever again." This is where, well, Rias flinches even more. This is where Rias was about to protest, until mostly she actually was stopped in an instant by, what's it called, well, by a harsh slap, or not even a harsh slap, mostly looking at Issei, and right now was about to protest and say, "Why you?" This is where, well, before she can even do anything, she was slapped in an instant very harshly, not by Issei, but by Mariyama. This is where, well, Catherine and the others wind their eyes. This is where, well, Edward looks amused a little bit, and this is where Issei winds his eyes. This is where Mariyama says, "What? You, one of the 4 Oni-sons, did something so terrible towards Issei-kun." This is where she said "kun," and this is where Issei seems surprised and it blushes a little bit. This is where, well, the others seem surprised, and this is where, well, Rias was about to get angry and about to attack what's it called, Mariyama, until what's it called, Sona appears right now using a water barrier magic and appearing around what's it called, Rias, and says, "You calm down. Mariyama, please refrain from attacking Rias again." And Issei, I don't know what to do with you, but yeah. This is where, well, she looks at Edward, and Edward just seems having an amused grin on his face, but yeah. So, of course, it worked well. What's it called? Right now, this is where, well, Edward kind of just says, "Well, that's probably quite interesting. I see. So, someone like you, someone so powerful, Issei-san, you literally was kind of revived out of a plan of a devil? Damn, that really sucks. I really would just rather kill myself than actually ever be revived in a slut like her. And not gonna lie, Ria-san, I should tell you something. I am happily dating someone back at Ireland. I am not a free man. So, fuck off, you're trying to literally, well, get my, what's it called, well, favorite in with you and trying to date you or anything." This is where, well, Edward stuck his tongue out, but yeah. This is where, well, Issei, he gets up right now, kind of annoyed and frustrated, and this is where Issei kind of just walks past Sona and Mariyama, and Issei says, "I'm leaving. I'm going back home. I don't give a damn." This is where, well, Edward just smiles and how Issei is reacting. And this is where, well, Issei is reacting like someone different entirely, not a pervert, which he's surprised. He thought Issei would just be crying or something, but Issei is quite different. This is where, well, Mariyama actually rushes out towards to see Issei, to actually see him already fucking walking down the hallway. This is where Kiba was about to do something until mostly his shoulder was grabbed by Sanji, and Sanji says, "Don't, just don't. You and the others should really stay out of his problem. It seems like you got something involved with him." This is where, well, Kiba looks at him and kind of narrows his eyes to the ground. And this is where, well, Mariyama was rushing towards to grab Issei's shoulder until mostly someone white hair kind of grabbed her shoulder, and it's not under the Momo. This is where Momo says, "Mariyama, I think it's a good idea to just let Kiba relax and cool down. It's better if you don't get..." This is where Mariyama says, "No, he needs me. No. I refuse to let him be in the dark." This is where, well, she kind of just gets Momo's hand off of her, like, shoulder, and this is where she rushes towards Issei. Issei already walked off, and right now is getting out of the school gate. He doesn't care. He just wants to go home already. This is where, well, the school gate was locked, so of course he just jumps over it entirely. Mostly jumps over the gate. But yeah, this is where, Moriyama notices, and this is where Moriyama screams out Issei's name, but Issei basically ignores her. This is where Issei doesn't care. But we go into Issei going to the park. Issei remembers all the memories, and right now having hatred in his eyes. This is where, something is hurting his chest, and this is where Drex's partner. It seems to what's it called, demonic pieces. The evil pieces seems to be corrupting your body. We need to get rid of them in an instant. Issei, right now, kind of remembers the name Yamato, and this is where, Issei said, Yamato. This is where Yamato appears again, and this is where Drake says, Issei, what are you doing? That's not a... This is where he noticed what's it called, his partner, what are you doing? Issei right now stabs Yamato into his stomach. This is where, Drake screams out, Issei! This is where, Issei coughed up some blood, but this is where, 8 pieces right now launches out of his body. 8 corrupted pieces. This is where, Issei coughed up some blood, and this is where, he's kind of coughing up more blood, but of course Yamato is still stabbed into his body. But this is where a blue silverish aura from the sword and also a purple, very dark black purple kind of appears from both hands, mostly his right and left hand. But of course he still has the left hand kind of holding it into Yamato. He falls over, and this is where he passes out. But this is where, something different about Issei will change entirely. His appearance is starting to change. This is where, not just does that, but something else awakened inside him. Something more kind of, how should I say, kind of not demonic, but mostly, how should I say, more of like a thirst for blood most of the time. How should I say, vampiric? No, vampire, kind of. But this is where, Issei is changing. And of course, this is where, the day passes by and Moriyama's trying to look for where Issei will be at. Until someone came across Issei being in a puddle of his own blood. But of course, changing. His hair fully changed, and of course, this is where, his eyes also change. But we go into mostly Issei waking up. Issei is he's in an unknown location. But this is where Issei feels much more powerful, but more tired. But this is where I'm going to leave it off for part 1 of this what if. Other than that, have a nice, day, night, and other stuff. But yeah, bye.